So good evening, everyone. Today is May 2, 2022, and it's 7:50 on my clock. I have two attendees right now, and I am Miss Angel Ocampo, and I am your instructor for this lesson. So in this lesson, we have present simple. Present simple, when we're talking about present simple, um, we talk about our habits and routines that is happening in the present. But how will we use this present sentence or present simple for future events? Let's find out. But first, take a look at these sentences. First sentence, Karina worked in London. Do you think this sentence is in a correct form? Anyone who noticed something? Yes, Mr. Mendoza.
I think, ma'am, that the first sentence is correct because even though the verb is in past form, it is still appropriate on the subject of the sentence, which is Karina.
Okay, that is correct, Mr. Mendoza. This sentence is in a correct form, which is in a past tense. Even if we have worked with ed in the verb, it is still appropriate for the subject. Next, they works every day. Does this sound correct to you? Does this sentence correct? Anyone? Yes? You want raising your hand, Mr. Aaron Art Pangilinan.
Mom, the sentence is grammatically incorrect because we have they as the subject of the sentence, and they is and since they plural is a plural, which therefore we should use a base form, a verb in the base form, and not a verb that is in S form po.
Oh, okay. That is also correct, Mr. Aaron. This sounds not correct to us, right? Because of the verb works with an es. It is not in good terms with the subject of the sentence. Okay, that is an incorrect sentence. Sorry for the noise. I apologize for the noise in the background. Please bear with me. Thank you. Okay, next. Norma wrote letters. Does this one sound correct to you? Yes, Mr. Mendoza.
The third sentence, Norma wrote letters. I think, ma'am, this is also correct, similar to the first example. It is just the verb which is in its past form, but it is still appropriate with the subject of the sentence, which is Norma.
Yes, okay. Similar to the first sentences, you are correct that it is just in the past tense, but it is written correctly. Next, we goes to mall every Sunday. Does this sound correct to you? Yes or not? Okay, okay. Mr. Aaron.
Mom, the sentence "we goes to mall every Sunday" is incorrect because we have the subject "we," and so therefore we should just the verb in our subject should be in the base form, not in the es or s form po.
Okay, that is also not correct. And that was impressive that you are all familiar um, with the uh, with with how we form the verb and how we use the subject to determine the verb in each sentences. So last sentence, she drinks coffee. She drinks coffee is what? Is this correct, Mr. Mendoza?
The sentence, she drinks coffee, is grammatically correct because the verb follows the rule where if we have a singular noun, therefore we will add S to the verb, so therefore the drink will become drinks. So our sentence will be she drinks coffee.
Okay, that is impressive. Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. I see that you are familiar with how we form or how we form different the subject and the verb agreement. Okay, next slide. What if I change the sentences into these sentences? Karina works in London. What have you noticed in the sentence compared to earlier? Okay, so may I ask again? Um, what have you noticed in these sentences compared to earlier? Does something change? What have you noticed, Mr. Mendoza?
If we compare the current sentence on the sentence we had earlier, um, the verb now became in the present tense because earlier we have the verb worked in ed form, meaning it's on past tense. Now we have the present tense works with s on its ending, and also it is still appropriate into the subject of the sentence, who is Karina.
Okay, yes, that is okay. Next, Mr. Aaron, do you notice something with this sentences?
Mom, I think that um this set of sentences have now is all in the present tense now. Is all in the present tense now, mom. Because the verbs, each verb um is either with s or without s po. And also I noticed that some sentences have have already an adverb and then and an adverb or adverb of place or adverb of time. That's it, mom.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that answer, Mr. Aaron at Alina. So, in these sentences, you notice that the verbs compared to earlier is now in the present tense. And as Mr. Aaron answered, he noticed that there is an adverb for place and time, which is visible to this slide. Now, may I ask, I just want to ask you something. Do you think that the subject, the subjects has something to do with how these verbs work or how these verbs form? Do you think that the subject is what we will base if we form the verbs? Yes, Mr. Charles.
I think, ma'am, that the subject influences the verb that we are going to use on the sentence. Um, Observing the examples being presented on the slide, it seems that the singular nouns or pronouns always takes a verb with an s or s on its end, while the plural pronouns um, always have a always have the basic form of the verb.
That's good. Uh, that's a good observation coming from Mr. Charles. That is correct. If we use single subject or singular subject, we we notice that there are added s in the verbs, and if not, if there is a plural subject, then we notice that there is none um, addition with the verse or with the base form of the verb. Let us take a look at a more, let's take a look at these sentences. I walk to school every day. He plays video games every weekend. We leave work at 5 p.m. and they meet at the coffee shop every 1 p.m. Now, we see that we use the we we added s to the verb if the subject is in singular form or is a proper noun or a pronoun. In the sentence, I walk to school every day. I, without adding s to the verb walk, is correct because I is what? Is a proper noun, but it requires the verb to be just walk. And we do not add s to the verb or the base form of the verb. He plays video games every weekend. As I said earlier, he we had the s to the base form of the verb plays because of the subject he. Now we use we, or we is a plural noun or plural pronoun rather, and live as the verb. We do not add s to it because of the rule. And they meet at the coffee shop every 1 p.m. They is a plural form in a plural form, so we do not add s to the verb meet. Next. Now, applying what you have answered earlier on what you have noticed in the following sentences, answer this one. She goes to the flower shop every morning. What do you think is the proper verb for this sentence? Anyone who wants to answer can raise their hand. Anyone? She goes or go? Yes, Mr. Aaron.
She goes to the flower shop every morning. The correct verb is to be used in this sentence is should be goes,
Why do you think so?
because our subject is singular. Therefore, we should do the verb to be used in our sentence should be also in the singular form, and in that case, goes is the verb that is the singular verb that is that will agree to our subject.
Yes, okay. That is correct, Mr. Aaron. The goes verb is the correct verb for this sentence. Next, I sit or sits at the bench every dismissal. May I call Mr. John Charles? You want to try answering this one?
Yes, ma'am. I think that the appropriate verb for this sentence is sit. I sit at the bench every dismissal because I think that as we have I as the subject of the sentence, therefore we will not add s or es into the verb being used.
Yes, that is also correct, Mr. Charles. I sit at the bench every class dismissal. Next, Jong Ho sings at the club every Saturday night. What do you think is the appropriate verb for this sentence? Anyone? Mr. Aaron? Yes?
Ma'am, the appropriate verb in this sentence is sings. Jong Ho sings at the club every Saturday night.
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Aaron. Jong Ho sings at the club every Saturday night because Jong Ho as the subject is a name for a person and a singular person. But what if I change the sentence into this one? Jong Ho sings at the club. What are your observations as we change the sentence? Does it mean anything? Yes, Mr. Mendoza?
Even though the sentence is shortened, it is still grammatically correct as the verb of the sentence agrees with its subject, Jongho. So therefore, we will have a singular verb, so we will add s into its base form. And also, we can observe that the sentence only exhibits present simple, but it doesn't indicate now future events.
Okay, that is correct, Mr. Mendoza. Thank you so much for that answer. You said it well. All right. So for the last sentence, he finishes his work at 9 p.m. Now, how do you explain this one? Why do we use or why do we add the es to the verb? Mr. Aaron, may I call on Mr. Aaron to answer this one?
Ma'am, the sentence is correct po because we have the subject he, which is singular. Therefore, we should um the our verb should be in the s or es form po.
Yes, okay. That is also correct. Thank you very much for your answers, everyone. Okay. So with that, we have concluded that those sentences are in a present event or a present time, right? And that the subject determines what verb we will use and how this verb or how will this verb um, changes the sentences. But what is present simple first? A present simple can be used to talk about future events that are scheduled to take place in the future. As in a context for present simple, using this as for future events, we can use the present tense or the present time in talking about the future events that we planned and that we scheduled to take place in the future. Also, it is used to make simple sentences of facts, to talk about things that happen repeatedly, and to describe things that are always true. So, whatever it is that is in the present simple or the present time, it is based on fact and it is happening repeatedly and it is true. Now, how to form a present simple for future event sentence? First, we need these three: subject, verb, and time phrase. She as the subject here, as we know the rule, eats or the verb eat, we added s because that is the rule. She eats as the present simple, lunch at 2 p.m. every day, 2 p.m. every day as the future time phrase. So that is the most important part which you may include in forming a present simple sentence. Further example, Tom does the dishes every morning. Tom is a singular person or a singular. Thus, so we added es to the verb do because Tom is a name for a male, so that we added es to the base form of the verb. Another one. She teaches English to 6 students. She, as the subject, teaches. We added es again because the subject is a singular form or a single person. Now, for further rules in forming the present simple verbs, we have here the six right the six rules. If your verb ends with an o, then you will add es to its end. And as he, she, and it requires es, s, and ies endings, then we will add es to the verb go. Next, he finishes work. From finish, we added es in its end. Just like the first rule, if the verb ends with an sh, then we will add es. Next, if the verb ends with ch, just like in the word watch, we add also es to its ending. I cross the road. From I cross the road, she crosses the road. If the verb ends with ss, then we will add es to its ending. What what about x and z? If our verbs ends with x and z, we also add es to its ending. And but of course, in adding es to every end of the verb, we will uh, double check and prioritize the subject of each sentences if it is based on the rule or it is accurate from the rules that we obey in forming this or uh, from the rules that we use in forming the present simple sentences. Okay, this is the general rule in present or forming present simple sentences. Simple as this, when we when the subject is he, she, and it, we will add s, es, and ies on the base form of the verb, just like what we are talking about this whole time. And you add s, es, and ies if the verbs are ending with sh, ch, o, ss, x, and z, just like what I said earlier. Example, his phone buzzes all day. With the ending z, we add es. She watches TV every noon. With ch, we add es. And then if we use pronouns like I, you, we, they, we will not add s, es, and ies. We just simply leave the verb in its base form. Is the rule clear with everybody? Do you have any questions regarding the rule?
No questions, ma'am.
Okay, that's okay. Next. Oh, just like that. I, you, we, they. The verb is it. We don't add s or es or ies. If if we use he, she, it, then we add s to its base form. Now, applying those rules that we have learned, let's try answering these sentences. All right. Number one, who wants to try answering number one? The next flight to South Korea, depart or departs at 6 this evening. Anyone? Mr. Aaron, please.
The next flight to South Korea departs at 6 this evening.
Your answer is departs. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Because of the subject flight or the next flight. Next, he studied or studies French every Wednesday's schedule. Is it studied or studies? Mr. John Charles.
I think, ma'am, the appropriate verb is studies. So he studies French every Wednesday schedule.
Why does it be studies?
Because, ma'am, we are talking about present simple future events. So I think that the verb should be on its present form so that it is appropriate for the sentence.
Yes, that's right. Next, the bank opens late tomorrow. Anyone? Okay, Mr. Aaron. Do you want to answer? Number three.
The appropriate verb in sentence number 3 is opens. The bank opens late tomorrow.
Yes, correct. The bank opens late tomorrow. Number 4. Ning Ning plays or played violin every weekends. We are talking about a present time that is talking about future events. So, do you think it is plays or played? John Charles.
I think, ma'am, the appropriate verb for this sentence is plays. Ning Ning plays violin every weekends.
Yes, correct. That is correct. Ning Ning plays violin every weekends because we are talking about the present time, as I said, but it is scheduled and planned later in the future. And of course, considering Ning Ning as she and is a single person, we add s to the play, to the verb play. And lastly, number 5, we starts or started work at 7 a.m. Mr. Jean Charles, are you see your raising your hand? No? Okay, Mr. Aaron.
I think that the appropriate verb in sentence number 5 is start. We start working or work at 7 a.m.
We start work at 7 a.m. Okay, that is also correct. We start work at 7 a.m. because we is a plural in the plural form, and so we don't add s to the base form. So that is that ends our lesson for today. I hope every one of you had a clear understanding informing the present simple and how we can use the present time in talking about the future events. Okay, does anyone have a question regarding uh, the presentation or the discussion? Does the
Nan
rules
po.
or does the rules are does the rules clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. So I hope you can use those rules in the future when talking about um, the present, while also talking about the future events. So, okay, that um, I want to thank everyone who participated in this lesson, and I hope you have a great night ahead. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.